Hello, welcome back to Truth Speak. Kind of a follow-up to the last episode before I go back to Christianity is perspective. When I was talking about mindset, it's important to understand perspective. For example, one of the great philosophical questions I think that most people have heard of is whether a glass is half empty or half full. And you can have raging debates on that all day. Well, you can look at it this way. No, but the answer really is much simpler than all of that. The glass is always full of something. It matters what it's filled with, if that makes sense to you. So for example, if a glass is half filled with water, the other half is filled with air. That's just the reality of physics. So there is, in essence, always a full glass. Just what it's filled with at certain times is different. For example, another question: why does this always happen to me? Versus, how have I allowed this to happen? How did I let this happen again? There's two different mindsets, two different perspectives there. And it's important to look at everything versus, instead of focusing on things coming towards you, what are you moving towards? What are you doing that may interact with this thing to cause this particular situation? Basically, being introspective, looking for fault within yourself. Now, some people like to do the blame game, and it's a cop-out. There's too much going on there. What I'm saying here is pay attention to what you are doing and how you are looking at a situation, and see if you can look at it differently. There is, for example, love not returned, right? You like a girl, you got a crush on this girl, or you got a crush on this boy, and you talk to him, or in some cases, I know some people are afraid, they don't ever talk to him, but in the cases where you've talked to him and you're turned down, right? Or you hint towards it and they just don't seem to pick it up. Here's the thing that I have to drive towards you, and I'm talking towards the more people that are more unwilling to let this go, if that is a greater example. In essence, what I'm saying is realize that you are chasing after somebody that doesn't want you. It means that they don't recognize the qualities that you have, or if they do, they don't consider it enough for them to be attracted to you. So your criteria might need to change. The women that you're chasing may need to change. The men that you're chasing may need to change. Understand that. Don't be afraid of it. Accept it. It is a reality. Or if the men you choose or the women you choose seem to always follow a particular pattern, transcend the pattern. Choose somebody different. Do something different. Don't always blame the other person and then turn around and look for something exactly like them. No. You're asking, in essence, that's the process of insanity, right? You're asking for the same result to keep happening. That's exactly what's going on, because you haven't taken the time to look at it from a different perspective. And if it's hard for you to do that, then get perspective from your parents, love them or hate them. Get perspective from your friends, love them or hate them. Garner all of these perspectives and build a true analysis from them. I'm going to say this, and I want you to know. I am a raging feminist. Raging, an absolutely raging feminist. And that matters because the next episode will be Christianity and feminism. But I want you to know something. My definition isn't similar to most people's. I think that the only difference that lies between men and women, other than the X or the Y chromosome, lies in, I think the science says, about 30% less body mass for women. And you give birth to all of us. That's pretty much where it is. Those are the only differences. I don't think I don't think we have differences in emotionality. I don't think we have differences in intelligence. I don't think we have differences in capabilities. I think that the rest has come from society and their expectation of what you should be doing or what I should be doing. That's how far I've come down this road. Now, I can convince you of that later on, but that's another story. But a lot of what we hear about today is that we're in this male-dominated society. And in a lot of aspects, there is maybe some truth to that. There is the other aspect, though, and I'm going to draw a couple lines here, so hold that thought, male-dominated society. I, as an African-American male, exist in a white-dominated society and things like that. Both of these things have this sentiment of you're the cause of my issue, you're the thing like this, and whatnot. Let's roll into stereotypes. And I think this applies in both areas. The issue, so one of the things that personally really make it hard for me to move forward is stereotypes. A lot of people subscribe to these stereotypes and they try to follow them through and through. One of the greatest examples of this is the whole zodiac business. Absolutely ridiculous, absolutely absurd, absolutely so far gone. But I'm not trying to scare you away, I'm just trying to tell you that if you fit such vague descriptions, it doesn't allow your uniqueness to show. And if you fit these vague descriptions, beware of what follows. Beware of the perception that follows. African American males are what? According to the rap, you this and you're that, you smoke weed, you do this, you do that, and feminists are these particular people and they're always raging against society, or they're running down the street showing everybody their goods. Those perceptions, unfortunately, have some truth to them, because there are people from each one of these subsets that choose to do these things. And that's the part that really irritates me to an extent, is why would you choose to follow a stereotype when you know it's a stereotype? So this is what I mean. I'm not saying that you shouldn't be who you want to be, but allow me again to draw, this is what I'm talking about being introspective, looking at yourself first. If you tell me, why are the cops always profiling me? But you bought a Crown Vic, you put it on 28s, and you had a gun and drugs in the car when they pulled you over. No, I don't feel you there. I can't. Because you have done exactly what they expected you to do. All the boxes have been checked. What is this? Why would you do that to yourself? That's the thing that I don't understand. How could you let yourself fall into that pitfall? No, they're profiling you, so they're partially wrong on their part. Absolutely. But you're also wrong in your part for subscribing to a particular stereotype. Everybody wants to point out, hey, they're profiling, hey, they're doing this. The problem is, it's hard for anybody to get behind you when you are stealing, when you are doing all these things. It's hard to make the case one way or the other. That's part of the reason why you just step back and realize, you know what, there's some good people, there's some bad people, there always will be. That's just the reality of our world. Except, there always will be, as long as people don't confront themselves, as long as people don't pay attention to what they're doing and accept their part of the blame, their part of the culpability for what's going on, And it's... Just expand your mind. Look at these different things. And pressure is applied to all of us. We all face different pressures. And, if you're a man in this society, you need to be ripped, you need to have money, you need to do this. This is the mantra that is going on right now, that you need to be along this certain subset of categories. And if you're a female, you got to do this, you got to wear makeup. You can't go out without makeup. You got to be wearing this kind of clothing, you got to be doing... Wash all that to the side. That's a hard thing to do, but that's, in essence, what I'm telling you to do today. brush a lot of this fluff off. And you will realize that the pressure mostly comes from you wanting to fit into one particular subgroup or the other. Now, technically, we all want to fit in one way or another because it just makes life a lot easier. But watch what you choose to fit into. Otherwise, it can lead you down a different path that you didn't expect to go down. You know, another perspective, that things of old have nothing to do with me today. What happened thousands of years ago has nothing to do with us. People still lie. People still kill. We've just gotten slightly more effective at it. People still are good at communicating or poor at communicating. We've just gotten a little more efficient at it. When somebody older is like, my generation, da-da-da-da-da, well, let's look at that. Let's say the generation for the last 50 years, they're responsible for, good or bad, civil rights movement, wars, the divisions in politics that we are still dealing with today, as most of those individuals in Congress are part of this generation. The divisions in politics, we have war, we have just social division, just absolute social division, and the focus is on the millennials, that these guys don't care about anything and whatnot. Actually, what's interesting is that we are coming back to a point in history where we are as close as is almost humanly possible. You can reach out and touch somebody on the opposite side of the planet. That's huge. And what are we doing with it? What are we doing with it? There was, in the 60s, you had the whole hippie movement going on. Now, don't get me wrong, there was protests against wars and things like that, in which you can view in positive or negative lights. But then you have one of the mainstays that has traveled for many, many decades on, which was Woodstock. And I like to point out Woodstock for this particular example because people talk about how the hippie movement was about peace, love, respect, things like that. It does make sense, but I think the problem with the movement and the problem with a lot of things today is, are you really out there helping as many people as you can? Are you really making sure that your interaction with them is selfless and things like that? Because from a different perspective, if you look at Woodstock, it wasn't about peace, love, respect, and whatnot. People believed those general themes, but people were there to party, to drink, to have sex, and just have fun. That's what they were doing. There was basically a giant vacation. Now, if those same amount of people had applied themselves to going into New York City, for example, and finding all of the homeless and sheltering them for a few days, what different reaction could that have caused? The hippie movement, in a lot of ways, was more about pleasuring yourself rather than helping other people. I draw these points up to you today because there are many ways and many perspectives that you can look at everything. So make sure that you are paying attention. And the reason why I broke off from what I was doing before is because there's a lot of resistance that I'm finding to what I'm saying sometimes. And I have to just work through it, in order to have conversations with people a lot of the time. And like I told you, I go out and have conversations with people every single day. Random people that I've never met, and we talk about life in general and politics and whatever else. And so, but in order to make that conversation easier, we both need to drop any bias that we have, anything that we're in essence bringing to the table, except for facts, except for the true knowledge and understanding of human nature and what truths we've come in contact with over the course of our lives. That's it. That's it. And let's have a bare, raw bones conversation about it so we can learn from each other possibly and move forward. the next episode will be Christianity and feminism. And there are a lot of people, or a lot of views basically, that Christianity is a male-dominated patriarchal situation. In some ways that may be correct. In other ways, it actually shouldn't be perceived that way if people were actually following what it says. And my goal is to show you at least some of that and see where you can take it from there. Have a wonderful day. Change your mindset, change your world. And if you change your world, you're going to end up changing mine. And I'm going to end up changing yours. And hopefully, if we're all being truthful about it, if we're all being honest about it, and we're all looking at it from a selfless perspective, that's when we can make a better world. Have a good day.